Captain's log, stardate 44735.6. We are about to land on Lamar 6, a planet outside of Federation space. On board are 2 sets of quantum replicators and 4 specialists to operate them. The equipment is too sensitive to use the transporter to get them to the surface, which is where the VSF Blessings comes into play by delivering them directly. End log.
Captain, we are halfway through the planet's atmosphere nearing our landing point.
Thanks, Brother Matthias. Be careful of the crosswinds up ahead. They appear to be quite strong. We don't want to jostle our cargo too much. They're highly calibrated pieces of technology.
I've been correlating what our sensors are telling us with that of the planet's weather satellites. I'm aiming to punch through at a less active area, hopefully.
You're doing well. Most of our atmospheric entries aren't this bumpy, but weather is weather.
We should be breaking through the cloud cover any second now.
Whoa.
Oh my. The hollows don't do it justice. What a spectacular landscape.
You're right about that. Such beauty.
The colors of the mineralogy and vegetation are unlike anything I've ever seen.
Me too.
Do you know the purpose of the quantum replicators, sir?
Didn't you read the mission brief?
I did, but it was as succinct as usual. It didn't say much beyond the replicators, the specialists, and the coordinates of the landing site on the planet.
They do often lack the interesting details. We've had a busy schedule on our way here, dropping off medical supplies and personnel while also picking up others. I did manage to get a moment to talk to one of the quantum replicator specialists about their assignment here.
What did you find out?
Lamar 6 has a rich history of literature and art. Collectively, they have a large library of ancient texts ranging from religion and philosophy to advanced mathematics and economics. These works are very important to their society. As part of the Vatican's knowledge preservation program, precise copies of their most important texts will be made down to the quantum level and later stored in the Vatican archive to help ensure such knowledge is never lost to time.
Copied down to the quantum level?
Yes, a completely identical copy in every way, at least at the point of replication. Many of these texts have never been digitized because they are too fragile to open anymore. This process will allow each one to be fully digitized, searchable, and open to the public to see the original versions once again. It's a completely non-destructive procedure.
That sounds really interesting. We're coming up on the landing site right now. Touchdown coming soon.
Let's hope the rest of this trip is as smooth as that landing, Brother Matthias.
That was a smooth landing, if I do say so myself.
VSF Blessings, a Star Trek fan production. We may live in a broken world, a broken universe. There is good and evil, right and wrong, light and dark. But we can be the good. We can do what's right. We can be the light. And we can do it in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please make sure the stabilizers are set in mobility mode, Brother Ethan. The algorithms are different from when the units were stabilized in your cargo bay.
Gotcha. Double checking now. All is good. We appear to be ready to go, Dr. Burns.
I keep telling you to call me Sally. I prefer to let my work quality speak for me louder than my title and degrees.
Okay then, Sally. I won't forget this time.
Good.
Once we get these quantum replicators to their designated spaces, how long will it take to set them up?
If they have made all the arrangements we requested, not long. The units are self-calibrated. Best case scenario is an hour.
That is faster than I would have thought. If there are only 2 replicators, why are there 4 pods?
What? Oh, I see the confusion. Each quantum replicator is a set of 2. One unit is the scanner, which scans down to the most minute subatomic quantum detail. The other unit is the replicator itself. Once the two units are synchronized and the object is scanned, the replication is over in an instant.
An instant?
Yes. What takes the most time is the initial scan. It can take hours. But once completed and the replication sequence is initiated, there's a flash, and then there's an exact replica.
Interesting. To create a whole object out of nothing but energy in such detail must take a lot of power.
It does. That's one of the arrangements we requested, is to have adequate power connections available with ample supply.
I noticed each half of the replicator set is going to a different building. Why isn't a complete set going to the same building?
Now that's a very observant question.
I do try.
The thing about quantum replication is that it is a triggered cascade event. Once the copy is initiated, it proceeds to completion one way or another. Far more often than not, it produces an exact copy. On occasion, though, the quantum cascade can destabilize, causing all that energy to release. If the artifact or book in the scanner were to be in the same room as the replicator, we risk damaging or destroying it. We simply can never allow that to happen.
I would think not.
Okay, let's get these things out of your cargo bay and to their new homes. My colleagues are checking out the arrangements as we work to get each item where they belong.
Initiating hover lifts now.
Good. Remind me to get you a drink of your choice when we're finished, Brother Ethan. Are you allowed to drink freely with individuals such as myself?
We are free to be polite and professional, but are discouraged from such activities, especially with members of the opposite sex. I must thank you for your offer, but humbly decline. I'm sorry.
No need to be sorry. I completely understand. I should have known better and not asked. I'm the one who's sorry.
No problem, Sally.
The hover lifts are getting ahead of us. Chop, chop.
Coming!
Hello, Brother Patrick. How is everything going with the setup and preparations?
I believe we have it all sorted out now.
Captain, thank you so much for lending us your engineer, Brother Patrick here.
You're welcome, Dr. Burns. I mean, Sally. Glad we could lend a hand to such a worthy initiative.
Our detailed instructions for our required arrangements were not fully followed. Close enough is not good enough in my book.
I hope Brother Patrick has performed up to snuff for you.
He was a godsend, perhaps quite literally.
You don't waste much time in gathering the department heads to show them what your quantum replicators can do.
No, we do not. We have repeatedly found that the quicker we get the magic show over, the quicker the novelty wears off, and the sooner we can get down to business. We have a lot of work ahead of us beyond just replicating. We then have to both analyze and digitize to obtain every bit of knowledge and information we can from these valued items.
It is a noble calling indeed.
Leave it to a priest to call it a calling. To me, it's a passion.
To me, it is the same thing.
Touché, Captain.
Are you ready, Sally?
Captain Hollis, this is Dr. Dramel, Dean of Libraries.
Nice to meet you, Captain. Glad you could join us. Thanks for your help in all of this.
Thank you, and you are quite welcome.
And to answer your question, Dr. Dramel, I am ready. You have perfect timing.
Gathered guests, if I could have your attention, please. If I could have your attention, please. This is a small gathering of our department heads and select library benefactors. Let me begin by welcoming you to this auspicious occasion. Off-worlders have come to help us both preserve our proud heritage and perhaps even recover and better understand that which has been lost with age. Through a chance meeting of a colleague of a friend of a colleague, we are lucky enough to have been granted use of these quantum replicators, along with the expertise of Dr. Sally Burns, Raskin Glasgow, Solon Hawes, and Melkin Vester. Without further ado, because I understand time is of the essence in this process, I give you Dr. Burns, or as she will soon correct you, if you call her that, I give you Sally.
Thank you, Dr. Dramel. And yes, I was about to correct you. You will see in front of us a grey piece of equipment with an antiquated book sitting precisely in the middle. The equipment is a scanner. The book, in case you don't already know, is a 500-year-old first edition of Grandor Bell's treatise on gravity and planetary motion. I understand it is a foundational source to multiple branches of your modern-day science. As we've been gathering in this room, the scanner has been studying every nuance of this book, down to its subatomic particles. If you redirect your attention to the monitors, you will see another piece of grey equipment with nothing sitting inside it. That will soon change. This is the replicator. It is off-site in the unlikely event the quantum cascade that occurs during replication gets derailed. It rarely ever happens anymore, as this technology has advanced and has never happened on my watch. Regardless, safety first, and we would never want to endanger you, nor the invaluable artifacts such as this book.
How destructive could a failure be?
Not very, honestly, from what I've seen reported. Both the replicator and the room are shielded to contain and absorb the released energy. It's just an extra cautious step to separate them that's held over from the early days of the technology. Plus, always a good measure to be extra cautious with these treasures.
I agree wholeheartedly.
It's time. We don't want to miss our window of opportunity. Watch the screen, and in 3, 2, 1. And that's the magic. A bright flash to reveal an identical copy, plus all the digitized data just waiting for further study. The copy will be safely stabilized and packaged for transport and storage in the Vatican archives.
And that is an exact copy down to every detail?
Every detail, sir. Every letter, note, drawing, crease, stain, tear, page, and binding.
Do you ever make more than one copy?
Yes, when necessary. Sometimes a second copy is made that is restored to make it physically accessible to its native population again, for example.
And this copy will be stored at the Vatican, you said. Why?
Why? To preserve knowledge in its multiple forms. A copy of the digital data will be stored there too, but as a backup to the physical specimen. The Church has a long, respected history of preserving such knowledge.
Thank you.
And with that, it's time to let Sally and her team get to work. They will be here for many weeks and would be glad to answer more questions during that time, I'm sure. What was that?
There was a flash on the monitors, and then the feed went black.
Hollis to Brother Matthias. Did you hear that? Any idea what's happening?
I did, and I don't know yet, sir. There appears to have been an explosion at the...
Brother Matthias? Brother Matthias, can you hear me? You try, Brother Patrick.
Brother Patrick to Brother Matthias, are you there?
He said there had been an explosion. Did the replication destabilize? Could that have caused the explosion?
No, for a couple of reasons. First, the destabilization would have happened immediately. There would have been no delay. Second, it would not have caused an explosion of this magnitude heard across the library campus. With the redundant shield, the replicator itself is the only thing that realistically could be damaged.
There is an interference field, Captain.
Let's get out of here and find out what's going on.
No one is going anywhere. You are all staying right here. Check them for weapons.
Who are you?
All in good time, my dear Dean. Now sit down over there and shut up.
Captain, can you hear me? Captain? Brother Ethan and Brother Thomas, I have lost the Captain and Brother Patrick's signal. We were cut off mid-communication not long after the explosion. There appears to be an interference field of some kind surrounding their immediate area. Can you both report to the bridge to help sort this out, please?
Already on my way. I thought you might have your hands full up there.
And I'm right around the corner. Be there in... no time.
Hold that door! We're here. How can we help?
Brother Thomas, could you please focus on the Captain and Brother Patrick? See what you can determine about them and try to re-establish communication.
Yes, brother. I'll see what I can do.
Brother Ethan, you concentrate on the building with the quantum replicator. It's on the opposite side of the library campus.
Yes, brother.
On the ground, our sensors are limited, but bounce your scans off a satellite if that's what it takes. I know our instincts are to run towards our colleagues and friends, but I don't think anyone else should leave this ship until we have a better handle on what's happening. I'll be contacting the local authorities to see what they can tell us and how we can help.
Wise thinking. It's a good plan.
I agree.
What do you think they want?
I don't know.
The apparent leader is walking to the front of the room. Perhaps we're about to find out.
You all complied quite well. Thank you. That makes this easier. My name is Zach Willer, and I'm here to take what's mine. And my colleagues here are going to take what's theirs.
And what is that exactly?
I will tell you soon enough, after I speak with our friends in the press gathering out front.
And that's all he's going to tell us?
It looks like it for now.
Dean Dremel, do you have no idea what he's referring to?
If that's the Willer I think it is, they're here for the books and more.
You've turned pale, Dean.
I hoped our society had grown past this. Knowledge is something to be shared and not wars fought over, as in the years past.
I see. And why do they think it belongs to them?
Because it may have belonged to their families at one time.
The damage to the building holding the quantum replicator is relatively superficial. The explosion made a loud noise for sure, but it appears to have mainly knocked out power and communications for that area only.
That's good to hear. How about you, Brother Thomas? Anything to report?
Regretfully, no. I can't get past the interference field yet.
Media report detected.
Good. Play it.
And here comes one of them now. I believe he's going to speak. Let's listen to what he has to say.
I am so glad you are here. I hope you listen well. We are here to take what is ours, what is mine. The knowledge contained within these walls is ill-gained. It was stolen from my family and the families of my colleagues. We demand it be returned. Every book, every scroll, all of it. We are tired of being pushed off by the bureaucracy of the system to the brink of destitution just to get back what is ours. Hear our voice. Hear our demand, or the hostages will not be freed.
It looks like he's going back inside now. Well, there you have it. We have a hostage situation, which we assume is related to the explosion reported on the other side of campus earlier this morning. Stay tuned as we continue.
So the captain and Brother Patrick are hostages.
But what can we do to help them without endangering the others?
I have no idea yet. The local authorities have not returned my communications. There has to be a way through that interference field. Have you discovered anything? Any abnormality? That could help, Brother Thomas?
Well, the interference is complete across the entire subspace spectrum. I have yet to find a gap.
What about the electromagnetic spectrum? Comm badges are designed to utilize alternative options in times of emergency.
I haven't checked. I am a medtech, not an engineer after all. That's a good idea, Brother Ethan. Will you assist me?
Of course I will.
By George, we've got it.
That didn't take long.
Not when you think outside the box a little. The interference field is not blocking EM transmissions in the 0.1 to 200 gigahertz range.
Radio waves, or part of the full radio wave spectrum at least.
What communication should we send, Brother Matthias?
Nothing audible that could attract their captor's attention.
What if we make the badges vibrate instead?
You can do that?
I think so. Actually, I know so. I've done it as a joke on a friend in the seminary before. He thought his comm badge was on the fritz and traded it in for a new one twice. Not very holy of me, I know, but he did find it funny in the end. I remembered to mention it in my next confession too.
Let's chalk that up to practice for today's need. And I know exactly what message to send across these vibrations too.
What's that?
Remember the quick tap code the Ravens used in the flock?
Yes.
Brothers Patrick, Ethan, and I have been practicing it.
Just in case we ever meet the flock again, it could be fun.
or in case it ever came in handy for another use.
Brilliant. I might have to join your studies in the future.
Brother Ethan, please set up the communication link with Brother Patrick's comm badge with the opening you two found. I'll write and translate the message to send. Let's pray to God that we can help in some way.
There's something off about all this, Brother Patrick.
What's that, Captain?
I can't quite put my finger on it yet.
My badge just vibrated.
Really? Mine hasn't.
Wait, it's vibrating more. It's a code. The quick tap code the flock used.
Shh. We don't want our captors to hear.
I'm sorry, but wait. Translating the code.
And?
It's the Blessings, sir. They managed to get radio signals through the interference field. The explosion only took out power and communications to the building with the quantum replicator. No casualties nor structural damage. They saw a press conference with Mr. Wheeler just now. Something about demanding their knowledge items be returned. Are we okay?
Can you answer back?
I think so. I'm not as good at this as Brother Matthias, but he can extrapolate beyond my mistakes, I'm sure.
Do it.
Okay, will do, Captain.
What are you two talking about over here?
Keep this quiet, Sally. But the Blessings just established contact with Brother Patrick.
That's wonderful news.
Look at them, though, Sally. Dressed in black uniforms, faces mostly covered, hovering over the crowd. How do they hope to achieve their demands this way?
By threatening to kill the hostages until they get what they want?
That's it. Have you seen a single weapon?
No.
Did you see them take a single weapon off any of us?
No.
Me neither, Captain.
After the explosion, to get our attention, they charged into the room yelling and ordering. People complied because we assumed if they had anything to do with the explosion, they were violent and armed. I don't think they are.
They took my tricorder, so I can't scan them.
I know. When they were searching everyone, did they search you, Brother Patrick?
No, they did not, sir. The tricorder was already in my hand, but they did not physically search me.
They didn't search me either.
They searched all my colleagues, me, Dean Dremel, and everyone else I saw. You two really weren't?
No, we were not. I was wondering if it was because they considered us Federation, but so are you. That doesn't add up.
It's because you are religious, Captain. There is an extra level of reverence for the religious on my planet. Our religious are pacifists, and therefore, no threat.
That is interesting, Dean Dremel, and maybe something we can use. Our religious will defend life when it's the just thing to do.
What are you thinking, Captain?
I'm thinking I've had enough of this.
What?
Tell the Blessings to be ready to act and warm the transporter up.
But, Captain...
Do it, Patrick.
What are you doing, priest?
I'm walking.
Sit down.
No.
I said sit down.
No.
Get back here.
No.
Who are you?
I'm Father Jeremiah Hollis, a Catholic priest.
Stay away from that.
No. Blessings. Lock onto my comm badge and beam this equipment away.
No!
Now why did you do that, priest?
Because threatening and scaring a bunch of academics is not how you achieve your demands.
It was working so far.
Was it really?
It could have worked.
You have no weapons beyond bravado. Your explosion was all bang and minimal damage. You really have no leverage. Once people figure that out, your ruse is up. You just want the attention it would bring to your cause.
Bravo, priest. You are quite observant. So what's next?
Once the local authorities scan within the building with the interference field generator now gone, they will figure out there are no arms as well. Then they will storm in. I suggest you comply and try to make it as easy as possible for them so no one gets hurt.
That was the plan. You just sped up the timetable. Team! It's time for Plan Omega. Lay down in the prone position. Well played, Priest.
It's not been a good month. My patience for games is non-existent. May God and the authorities have mercy upon you.
Captain Hollis, I am Prime Billant, head of security on the library campus. I can't quite decide if what you just did was extraordinarily brave or knuckleheaded.
Probably somewhere in the middle, sir.
That's usually the case. So from what I hear, you stood up in the middle of a hostage situation, walked towards the main door, refused all commands to stop, walked through said door and straight up to the interference resonator, and somehow just shut it down. Then, to finish it all off, you had your crew transport the unit away.
Yes, that sums it up well.
I'm not quite finished yet. Lastly, you talked the lead disruptor into surrendering.
No, that part I didn't have to do. That was already part of their plans. I just pointed out that the time had come and to make it easy on you guys so no one got hurt. That was apparently part of their plan as well. I believe Mr. Willer called it Plan Omega.
Captain, how did you know your plan would work, though?
To be perfectly honest, Dean, I didn't. I simply took it one step at a time.
One step at a time?
Yes. You see, I had to test my theory on whether anyone had any weapons or not. After you shared with me the deference your people had for religious, I hoped that would give me the grace needed to test my theory.
That part was brave.
My first literal steps were to see if anyone would try to physically stop me.
None did.
Indeed. My next steps were to determine if weapons would come out when I pushed a little more.
And none did.
Once I made it through the door, I was hoping to either walk up to any authority I saw outside or have my crew beam me out of there. They were on standby.
But you didn't do that.
No, I did not. When I saw the interference unit was right in front of me, I took one more gamble.
And that's the boneheaded part. How did you know you could work it, let alone deactivate it? I doubt you know our language.
You're right. I didn't and don't. But you may be surprised to know how many civilizations at your stage and after have icon-driven menus. I took a whole course on it during my Starfleet training. The interface was very well designed, easy to use. Plus, shutdown functionalities are typically placed in the corners. Luckily, there was no passcode protection either. It didn't take much to shut it down.
When that field came down and we did our preliminary security scan, we couldn't believe the results. An entire group of people held hostage with no weapons.
I don't think that's so hard to believe, Prime Billant. Even after all these years later, we are still a war-weary people. The explosion made them seem capable of violence when they stormed into the room. It took an off-worlder to see it differently.
What next? What will happen to the hostage takers? What will happen to the disputed items?
Mr. Willer and his cohorts will be prosecuted for their crimes. The lack of actual arms and the minimal damage they caused with their explosion will certainly lighten the sentence. I can see now that they masterfully planned this aspect. Regardless, they took people hostage against their will, did do some damage, and terrorized the community. They will serve jail time.
Regarding the knowledge assets they lay claim to, we are in uncharted territory here, Captain. Knowledge used to be controlled by the few. It was hoarded and locked away.
I see.
We became a spacefaring planet because of the efforts of a small number of key individuals. The advancements we have made together as a civilization in the last 50 years with our shared knowledge has been immense. We cannot go back to what we were before.
I understand. I know the Federation has faced this many times in the past. My home planet, Earth, has faced the topic of repatriation of works of art, books, and other valuables more than once. It is not an easy process. The right answer is not always cut and dry nor universal.
We don't have the resources of the Federation to learn from, Captain.
No, but I may know some people who can help with that. Let me see what I can do.
I would be most grateful. We would be most grateful.
Plus, I'm sure the Vatican will be in contact to ensure we are ethically copying any item in question.
Of course.
Before I can leave Sally and the other quantum replicator specialists here, I need to know they will be safe. How do we know this won't happen again, but with actual weapons next time?
That's a good question, Captain. We will be ramping up campus patrols for sure. We can also post guards outside the replicator facilities plus their living quarters as we investigate this further.
That sounds appropriate. Thank you. I will have to run this by Sally first.
Of course.
Sally does not seem like someone who is easily deterred, though.
No, she most definitely does not.
Prime Billen's security plan sounds good enough to me, Captain. I'll review it with the team to make sure they're all in agreement.
Good. With this being all over, I'm sure you'll be glad to get back to work now.
We got back to work the moment Mr. Willer and his cohorts were escorted from the building. My colleague, Dr. Vesta, went straight to the replicator facility to ensure our copy of Grandor Bell's treatise was unharmed. Thankfully, it was. After a few diagnostics, we already have our next specimen in place and being scanned.
Of course you do. You've obviously done this before.
Yes, a time or two. You three are just in time too. While we were all focused on this one book, the other quantum replicator was still scanning its subject. It's a religious text. It's ready for replication. Brother Ethan, do you wish to do the honors?
Why, yes, I would.
And there's the magic yet again.
Thank you, Sally.
You get to see so many rare, pivotal, valuable texts and art. I must admit I'm a little jealous.
It comes with a lot of stress as well. The eyes of our hosts are watching us constantly. Our mantra is to do no harm to any of the objects within our care. These first items we are copying here are not the most valuable. They are still important, don't get me wrong, but this is still the phase where we are proving ourselves in both what the technology can do and in how we care for the specimens. They'll bring out their good stuff in a couple of days with all the pomp and circumstance required to keep them safe.
Like I said, you've obviously done this before.
Prior to Mr. Willer being hauled away by security, he asked for a word with me. He apologized for stealing some of my thunder, he said. I replied it was more lightning than thunder. Anyway, he wanted to let us know that he and his cohorts do support what we're doing here. While they want their objects back, they are appreciative of what the Vatican is doing to preserve knowledge across the galaxy.
That should make your jobs a little easier, I hope.
Yes, it should.
Is there anything else we can do for you before we continue on with our mission?
I'd like to package up these 2 book replicas for you to take back with you.
Of course. Can we fit them in, Brother Ethan?
I think so. The cargo hold is half full with what Sally and her team replicated on their last assignment. 2 more isn't going to make much of a difference.
Perfect.
Captain, I have an incoming call from Archbishop Morgan for you.
Thank you, Brother Matthias. Please patch him through to my ready room.
Will do.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you as well, Jeremiah. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there, trying to keep my mind occupied, you know.
Oh, I know. These are hard days for the both of us. I just looked through your mission brief on Lamar 6. That was no walk in the park.
No. What should have been a simple mission was wrapped up in politics, entitlement, and the after effects of war. Life is messy at times. As you read, I took a few calculated risks.
Yes, I read those parts. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me.
I'll admit that line from the Book of Psalms did cross through my head at the time. I was praying hard, for sure.
From how you described the situation, it was a fair, calculated risk to make. I would like to think I would have drawn the same conclusions and done the same thing had I been in your shoes. But I don't know if I would have, Jeremiah. You're built for these moments better than I am.
You probably would have figured it out as soon as they came barging through the door.
Regardless, good job, Jeremiah.
Thank you, John.
We'll be glad to have your cargo on hand. We have a project with the Federation, and a few others that is ramping up now to preserve historical and cultural artifacts and knowledge on a more neutral, mobile ground. Its working name is the Eternal Gallery and Archive. It's too mundane of a descriptive name. I'm sure it won't stick.
That's certainly interesting.
We've all combined resources to build an interstellar space station for this purpose. It has the latest defensive technologies to ensure its contents are as safe as possible, with plans of continual upgrades as required. It's been all hush-hush until now. The interior is modeled off the Thomas Fisher Rare Book Library in Toronto, a perfectly beautiful facility.
I've been there with Dad before.
I know. When you get here and unload your cargo, let's take a tour of both the original library and the inspired version of it, shall we?
Most definitely. I look forward to it, John.
You have been listening to VSF Blessings, a Star Trek fan production. Episode 8, Ours and Mine. Created, written, produced, directed, and audio engineered by James McDonald. Story consultation provided by Noah McDonald. All character voices were generated using 11 Labs AI voice generator. Sound effects from Pixabay.com under free use content licenses and TrekCore.com. Star Trek and all related marks, logos, and characters are solely owned by CBS Studios, Inc. This fan production is not endorsed by, sponsored by, nor affiliated with CBS, Paramount Pictures, or any other Star Trek franchise, and is a non-commercial fan-made production intended for recreational use. No commercial exhibition or distribution is permitted. No alleged independent rights will be asserted against CBS or Paramount Pictures. Until next time, be the good, do what's right, and be the light.